This is episode number 245 of the InnerFight podcast. Welcome to another edition of the InnerFight podcast. We're talking today all things competitive fitness with the brains trust behind the InnerFight Red Zone program, Phil and Andre. We're going to talk all those things, who should be on the program, what the program is, what it is, what it looks like, and what you need to do to get on it. Of course, as always, a big shout out to our show sponsors, Kareem. Download the Kareem app, sign up and register with a valid credit card, and use the promo code InnerFight for up to 100 dirhams off your first ride with those guys. And remember, if you're coming to the gym, use the promo code INNER. If you're leaving the gym, use the promo code FIGHT, and you will get 10% off your ride with them. Let's jump right in to today's show. All we need is the nod from Moonshine, and we're back in business. This is another edition of the InnerFight podcast. Andre, who's that?
Hello. Who dat?
Who dat? New nickname, Dr. Dre, or just Doctor?
Just
or
Doctor.
Just Dre?
I like Doctor.
You like Doctor?
Yeah.
Why? Does it make you feel smart?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Basically.
Nice shirt. Phil.
Yes.
Morning.
Morning.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
No shirt.
No nickname.
No nickname. Grumpy. That's probably the closest you've got. If anyone thinks Phil should have a different nickname to Grumpy, let Andre know. He'll verify it. Another edition of the podcast, you can watch it over on YouTube, on the InnerFight YouTube channel. Listen, if you're listening in iTunes, that's good. Share it. Tell all your friends about it. This one's action-packed. It's all about performance. It's all about performing, what should we say, at the highest possible level of CrossFit.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
You've got a red mic. That's actually by chance. This
Red Zone.
Red Zone program. I mean, I'll give a little bit of background about how we came to the Red Zone program and how we actually came to the zones, right? Because I think that's important when we start off. We actually split all of our programs that we write for the class, or all of the scalings, into 4 different zones. One zone missing that we might speak about later on, but probably not quite yet. You start on the grey zone, which is for people who are just starting out on their fitness journey, who are trying to either, as I say, start fitness or coming back to fitness. They start in grey zone. All our base classes are sort of with that in mind. Trying to get people into what's the next zone, the white zone, which is probably 75% of the
I would say so.
75% of the population.
Almost all of the members
Sort of sit in that white zone where they basically can do certain things or can do everything, but the limitations are a little bit of the gymnastics skill stuff and also the weights.
Yeah.
From there, people progress to black zone, which probably have a little bit more gymnastics skill, definitely a little bit more conditioning as well.
Yeah. You would probably liken the black zone to a typical RX standard of a CrossFit workout.
Right.
So, you know, the sort of being able to do the CrossFit girls workouts RX, that's kind of what our black zone is likened to, and then the other two are maybe scaled versions of that.
Right, and then at the very sort of the top of the pile is the Red Zone program, which is a very small percentage of the population, which is people that want to compete in fitness.
Yes.
Do fitness competitions, do CrossFit competitions, or, this is a nice segue to the article that you've got in front of you, Phil, compete at the CrossFit Games.
Yes.
Now, you have competed at CrossFit Games, so you obviously know what it takes. Andre thinks you're the man because you've done that, and it's his dream to do that, because obviously, no, we won't go into that one. But, mate, there's an article
You'll get there, Andre.
You'll get there.
So
You're
read
young,
this article.
mate. You're young. So let's go through one of the articles. So what we're going to speak about today, folks, is the Red Zone program. We're going to speak about how it's put together, why it's put together, a little bit of the thoughts behind it. And really, these two guys, Andre and Phil, Phil's the guy behind it. Andre does a little bit more of the individual, or will start doing a little bit more of the individual program, brings his doctor side to the scene.
Yes.
But, mate, there's an article on the CrossFit Games website, which is their vision from this article is the same as our vision for Red Zone. How do you get to the CrossFit Games?
I think it's a simpler version, and I guess it is true.
Yeah.
But when you read it, it's quite funny that it feels like a very, very shortened version of how to get to the CrossFit Games.
It's easy.
It's 4 steps.
Just 4?
Yeah.
Right.
1, find a CrossFit affiliate.
That's pretty cool. So we're a CrossFit affiliate. So anyone that wants to go to the CrossFit Games needs to come.
Sign up
down here.
Yeah. InnerFight CrossFit DXB.
There we go.
That's where you need to be.
That's where you need to be.
Step
first.
2, once you've found this affiliate, you need to start training.
Okay, that's pretty good.
They put a list of movements down there. It starts with air squat, which, yeah, you should start with an air squat.
Which, mate, being serious for a second, that's one of the movements that Grey Zone start with in our foundation class, in our base fitness class. That's
I would
one
say
of
it's probably the most important movement, right, to master.
Right. So although it's funny, it's also, I think, probably where a lot of people might go wrong, that their air squat sucks, and then they try and start to add weight and intensity to it.
Yeah.
Good. So we're agreeing with the first 3 points. So
after you start training, I don't know how long this period is, but then the next step is then to sign up for the Open.
Right.
That's sign up for the Open mid-January.
Yeah.
If you qualify through that, then you end up at regionals, which is great. Step 4, the final step, is to do some research.
Right.
Research is apparently the key.
So you shouldn't do the research until later on.
Get on CrossFit.com, get your level 1, check out the rules.
Rules are pretty essential.
Yeah, look at the leaderboard, watch some documentaries.
No brain, no gain, right?
Yeah, get on Instagram, and there you have it. CrossFit Games.
You definitely need Instagram.
Which is pretty much what happened for me, but it was over 5 years. This seems like a shortened version of it, but I guess there was a few extra steps in there along the way, but...
Yeah.
This is pretty much sums it up.
What comes first, though, the chicken or the egg? Do people want to go to the CrossFit Games and then start CrossFit, or does it happen the other way around?
For me, it was the other way around because I had no idea what the CrossFit Games was when I started.
Right.
I was told when I was training, when I first started for rugby, I was told then, why don't you compete? And I was like, compete in what? What am I'm training.
Let's define that a little bit, because that's what this program takes us to. Andre, when someone said to you, you're going to compete in fitness, like what was your reaction? Like, okay, mate, we can see you can do some push-ups and air squats. You're real good. We suggest you compete in fitness. Like, what's going through your head?
Well, where I came from with my background in American football, we had one of the fittest guys in the world on the team, actually, Frederick Egidius.
Right.
So he already introduced us to everything, and all our training in the off-season would be based on competing against each other.
Right.
So actually I didn't see it as a very complicated thing.
Right.
It's a pretty simple setup.
Simple, straightforward, that sounds
measurable,
good. But
repeatable.
I think for some people, when you explain to them and you sort of say to them, you know, when they say, what's your sport now, what reaction do you get from people?
Oh, I don't understand. You say, I do fitness, and I compete in it.
Yeah.
So you're a weightlifter?
Yeah.
No. Oh, so you're a gymnast?
Yeah.
No. Oh, so you do triathlons? It's like...
They don't get how it works.
But add it all together and kinda, yeah.
So how do you explain it to someone?
It's something it could be for time, it could be
if it's someone like Mohammed Qasim that asks a lot of questions. But how would you explain? Like, there will be some people that listen that, okay, we appreciate and we know, and even I've got to give a big shout out to a lot of the guys who saw Ben Davies at the European Inferno recently, where those guys came third in the team event. He's following Red Zone program. We'll speak about that later. All the trophies that he's filling up Phil's flat. But the guys went up to him and said, we really follow the podcast. So some people that follow us obviously know what we're talking about. But what about the people that don't get it? Sum it up real easily for them.
Well, I'll explain like this. We compete in CrossFit, which consists of 3 different things. It's the weightlifting, gymnastics, and this third part, which could be the conditioning part, is running or rowing or biking or something like that.
Yep.
And explain it as it could be competed in the separate domains, or it can compete with a workout where all the 3 domains is included.
Right.
And it could be for time, it could be an AMRAP explaining that.
Yeah.
It's basically who finishes first or who does the most reps.
So a simple example of a workout for time.
Fran,
21, which is
59 pull-ups, thrusters, pull-ups.
Thrusters and pull-ups, and you just get them done as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Another one you mentioned, AMRAP, as many rounds and reps as possible in a specific time domain. Quick example of something like that.
It could be the 16.1, 20-minute AMRAP, lunges, chest to bars, burpees.
Beautiful.
Very simple.
So like you said at the start there, something that's super measurable. We specified the exercises could combine gymnastics, weightlifting. It could just be one domain over a specified time domain, or
specific weight as well,
and a specific weight, or it could be task, like an AMRAP could be task centric basically. So I mean that really is the easy. You explain it like that as well, Phil, or something to add there?
Yeah, I would do. It's just everyone's on the same. Everyone has the same sort of circumstances. Everyone's lifting the same weight.
Yeah.
Everyone has to complete the same amount of reps, and it's whether you. And then some tests are who lifts the most weight. Some tests is who does the most reps.
Yeah.
And some tests is who does those set amount of reps the fastest.
Yeah. Right.
So it's just all different ways of testing fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's dig into it a little bit, because we've actually made it sound really simple. But Andre, you picked up on 3 things there that are actually a lot bigger than we made them sound.
Yeah.
You said weightlifting, gymnastics, and then essentially cardiovascular stuff.
Everything else.
Everything else. So the initial question I've got is, how do you put together a program that makes people better over those time domains or task-centric task of weightlifting, gymnastics, and developing cardiovascular fitness?
So you got to keep it constantly varied. In competition, everything can be tested.
Right.
Different versions, 1RM lifts, many reps, short workouts, long workouts.
Yeah.
Workouts that consist of everything. So the program needs to be very varied, but you can still build up some systems where you hit most of the movements every week, and there's a system in that.
Yeah.
You can't put it too systematically, because in competition it won't be like that.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that, for example, you hit most of the gymnastic movements every week that you know will be tested.
Right.
Certain movements, you know that these movements will pop up in the CrossFit Open or at competitions.
Right.
And so on. For the weightlifting and gymnastics, it's the same for all of those.
Now, a few people figured that out a few years ago and have launched, developed similar programs to the program that basically Phil, essentially Phil developed on his own at the start, and now you're helping him with, to gear people towards that. We've seen Jami Tikkanen's the training plan. Yeah. We've seen Mikko Salo, who's a previous CrossFit Games champion, the system, and a range of different. Looking back at those, Phil, what did you, when you first started looking at them, what was the thought? Because Andre's, again, he's made a lot of things sound really, really simple. Oh, yeah, we just try and cover every movement like once a week, once every 2 weeks. But if we really went through those movements he spoke about,
it's almost you oversimplifying it. Like, there's way more than just saying weightlifting, gymnastics, and then cardio. I mean, there's everything else that comes in between, like, you know, the other types of movements, like, you know, wall balls and box jumps and double unders and things like that. People might not be too familiar with those type of things, or kettlebell work, dumbbell work, strongman work. Yeah. Anything you can think of
can
end up coming up. Like at the games, they tested throwing a ball for max distance. Yeah. You know, like, and then
baseball,
and a softball, and it can go, you know, walking on your hands.
Yeah.
L-sit holds, like random tests that you would never even think of, that all kind of comes into one. And swimming as well.
Yeah, right.
We had paddleboarding. Yeah. There's so many different things. That's why I think it is important that you have someone who has this experience. Yeah. Like Jami Tikkanen is a very experienced person in CrossFit, and he's been doing that for a long time, and he's seen the trends and seen that. And I'd like to consider myself very experienced as well. This is 5 years, and I've competed at the as high as you can go.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you see how CrossFit develops, and the trends that go with it, and just how much you have to train certain things compared to others.
Speaking about those trends, mate, you spend an obscene amount of time trying to, let's say, figure out the trends, debunk the trends. You put an amazing stat on that I wanted you to share with us on Instagram the other day, on the Red Zone Instagram, about snatches. Just share that stat with us, because we see, and I know the background on this, I'll give it really quickly. We see a lot of people just focus, my 1 rep max snatch is 225, now it's 235, now it's 245. You know, give us what you put on Instagram.
Yeah, and that's really kind of why I did it, because you see so much, and it is super cool. It's the stuff that people want to see on Instagram, how much you can lift in one lift. But it's way more than that. Competing at CrossFit, you can lift any amount of weight for different amounts of reps, and one of the most challenging things that we do, I think, is the really light weights for multiples of reps. And I was actually looking over the Open for the last 6 years. So the Open is the
just 6,
the qualifying.
Just casual.
Well, that's how long it's been going.
Friday night, right?
What do you do?
That's the way that you qualify to go to the CrossFit Games. So you have to be very good at these workouts in the Open. Right. And Rich Froning, who is probably the best,
won the CrossFit Games 4 times.
At the moment, he's the best CrossFitter there is, arguably, because he didn't win it this year, but he's won it 4 times. Right. He's done, I think it came up to 370 snatches at 75 pounds over those 6 years. That's what's got him to winning those workouts. Right. He's only done 10 reps across those workouts at 210 pounds.
Right.
And there was a few weights in between, 60 reps, 40 reps, 50 reps.
Right.
But this 75-pound barbell, an extremely light bar, was hundreds of reps more than any other weight that's being used.
Right.
And I guarantee that people aren't training that way all year round.
Yeah, right.
All they care about is the 1 rep max. And I really don't think, I think you probably agree, that the person who has a 300-pound snatch, like the guy who snatches the most weight, I bet he's not the one that wins the workout that's 100 reps for time with a really light barbell.
I got a question for you. We did a workout the other day that was on the first 30 seconds, 7 power snatch at 75. On the second 30 seconds of the minute, 7 thrusters at the same weight for 20 rounds.
75 pounds.
75 pounds.
So we're talking like 34 kilos
34 kilos. Do you think that John Britton would have been able to finish that workout? Bearing in mind, John Britton, a great friend of ours. If you don't know him, go and check him out on Instagram. Yeah. I don't know what his Instagram name is now. He's changed it 5 times in the last 3 years.
It's professional. I think it's just John M. Britton.
Yeah, he put my name in the middle, so I was really thankful for that. But he can snatch 145 kilos, which is absolutely obscene. Would he been able to finish that workout at 35 kilos?
No way. Probably not.
So what are we saying there? How competitive fitness stroke CrossFit works then?
I think it's also a lot about what you want to show your friends or tell your friends. If you can snatch a lot, they don't care how many reps you can do at 75
do they or don't
pounds.
they, mate?
No one cares until you do it at regionals and beat everyone by over a minute on Randy. Like when everyone saw Yonakoski absolutely demolish Randy.
Yeah.
Like
crazy.
it was so cool, and everyone was like going nuts over it.
Yeah.
Right.
But they wouldn't care if we posted the other day our sets of 7 or sets of whatever at 75 pounds. You'd skip past it and you probably wouldn't even like it. You would like someone doing a 120 kilo, 130 kilo snatch.
Start Facebook Live those the ones. There's one coming up in a few weeks or in a week's time that's similar.
It's also easy to see the progress when you train like that, when you go for 1 RM lifts all the time, but you can see the progress very clearly. You don't go for EMOM 10 with 10 snatches, and then next week you go 11.
Is it or isn't it? If you said, okay, we're going to take 35 pounds and 30 for time. What was Randy?
75.
Sorry, 75 for time.
Yeah.
It's as easy, because it's a time domain, it's as easy to measure.
It might be just as easy, but I don't think a lot of people would
want
do
it. Would want to double tap your picture.
No, just train it enough.
Yeah.
Like, imagine every time you do a 1 RM, you do 75 for time.
I mean, that's what it all comes into like how difficult CrossFit is. Like, because we're definitely not saying that you shouldn't be training your 1 rep maxes. Like, it's almost equally important, because if that heavy lift does come up, you can be immediately eliminated because you can't snatch enough.
Right.
Like if you don't have a 120 kilo snatch now, and you will struggle to get to regionals if a snatch max comes up in the open. Right. And that's high. It's 20, maybe 30 kilos heavier than what I would have said if you'd have asked 5 years ago.
Right.
But so you've just got to find that balance and not focus. That's what we're saying, that the balance, it's not balanced at the moment. I would say that a lot of people would only focus on those high-end numbers now, and then it gets to December, it's like, the Open's coming. I best start doing some fast reps. Yeah. But like the Open is getting so hard to qualify for now. In our region, we get 10 people. Yeah. There's a lot more than 10 good athletes. Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you're not at your absolute peak of fitness and you've not been practicing this for 6 months, a year, you have one bad workout. Like I came 21st on one of the workouts last year, and I was sweating that I wasn't going to qualify.
Hold that thought. Let's dive back to the geekiness about it, and let's talk a little bit about how the program's put together. Obviously, as we said, Phil, you spend a lot of time. Doctor also spends, or Dre,
some time.
Doctor the whole time. A lot of time sort of analysing things, looking at stuff. So, with all of that knowledge that you guys have got, how do you go about taking all those things that Dre made sound so simple and putting it into a program, and then what does that program look like?
The way that I do it, I would probably imagine maybe a little bit different to most people, and it's different to how I used to do it as well. It is an ongoing process, and I'm always learning and finding things that work well and things that don't. Yeah. It's a little bit of trial and error there, but I feel like we're onto something pretty good at the moment, that we've actually split the days I've split the days into a strength day and a cardio day, just to give them a name. The strength day is what it sounds like. It's 2 sessions. And the main focus of that day is just on getting stronger. So you can make the best sort of physical adaptations on that day without already being tired from a hard cardio session before it. So while we're really trying to get strong, then we really focus on it. You can also get tired on that day, so maybe some of it is just lifting, and some of it is lifting a heavier weight for multiple reps, which is still super tiring. And it's also going to include all your gymnastic work, but in a more strength bias. Then you have a cardio day, which is what that sounds like. That's 2 or 3 sessions. This is on the competitors program. 2 or 3 sessions where we look at we probably do 3 different types of workout in one day. So
3 metabolic systems.
One of them will be like a lower intensity, but maybe a little bit higher volume or time. For example, let's say that's on the rowing machine. A nice low stroke rate, but we've got quite a lot of volume in there. 5+ K. Middle of the day, we'll do some more high-ish intensity or interval work. And that's more the typical CrossFit type stuff.
Sport specific.
Just a traditional CrossFit style workout. Because I think it's super important that you're just training that the whole year. It's the main principle of CrossFit, that things stay varied, that you do varied workouts, and some people just leave it out for so long.
I think a lot of people, and this was sort of turned up a couple of years ago when people started to follow more competitor style programs, and these programs started coming out. They'd go through all these phases, but they'd never actually do CrossFit workouts. I remember speaking to Dusty Highland, who coached Lindsay Valenzuela, who placed second at the games, I think, a couple of years. So a decent level of athlete.
Olsen as well, I think.
And he worked with Noah Olsen as well, that's right. And he said one of the things that I think is a real difference in these guys is that we're actually, even in what they call out of season, doing CrossFit style workouts. So we're used to it the whole time around.
I think that it's really important. It's something I played around with, that when years that I kind of left it out, I thought, I'll keep this as more of like a real strength off season. And I found the Open really tough that year. It just wasn't long enough to I left fit. It too long to get fit. So I don't trust that no matter who you are, that maybe too few people are lucky, but most of the people aren't fit enough to only start worrying about it maybe a month or 2 away from the Open. So on that cardio day, then we'll hit probably a third piece that in the afternoon, that can be another varied piece. Just basically another cardio thing. So
that's how you split they're 2 really good examples. We'll dig into a little bit more how the exercises might look in a second, but you mentioned something there. That would be a typical day for the competitors program. I should have probably asked this question before. Just explain the different tiers of the program that you put, or that you're working on to help people.
There's 3 different tiers at the moment. There's the main tier that everything is based off is our competitors program, and that's based on people that have the time, which is probably the main factor, the time to train 2, maybe 3. Sometimes I'll ask for 3 sessions on a day. Each one will last between probably around an hour, maybe a bit longer, 90 minutes. So I'm asking for about 120 to 180 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Pretty big time commitment.
2 to 3 hours a day.
With that, your goals are probably going to be to get past the Open, and compete at a regional level or similar, really high level competitions. From that, we take the class program, which is a reduced volume version of the competitors. I pick the main pieces of each day, and it's down into one 90-minute session.
So that would be for someone, mate, that wants to be competitive in the Open, like maybe have a chance even to go to regionals, but really has a time commitment that they commit to it of 90 minutes a day.
And I mean, it's still for competitive athletes. When I was leading up to my first regional, I had two jobs. One of them was nothing to do with CrossFit, and that was 9 to 5. And then I worked at the CrossFit gym at night, and I had about an hour, 90 minutes to train. And I did that for 6 months and got to my first regionals. Because I just trained really smart and really hard. You do have time to do that. I'm not 100% sure that it's as easy now. That was 2013. But still,
Dre, not happy. What's your thoughts, mate? Like you've obviously been in Europe. We've been here. The scene's kicked off here. It's kicked off in Europe as well. There's a lot more people with these dreams of going to regionals. Of the people, you might have this stat, you might know it, or you might stab a guess at it. Of the guys that were at regionals last year in Europe, how many were not like full-time coaches? So maybe have this, like Phil's saying, 2 to 3 hours a day. Do you know? Or hazard a guess?
But not many.
Not many.
Most of them are CrossFit coaches.
They're mostly CrossFit coaches.
I would say so now.
At the same time, I think we've seen this separation from sort of CrossFit regionals athletes to people that still want to compete at fitness, right?
Yeah.
So that's really for who this program is really going to help.
Yeah, and it's still for if you want to compete at a more local level competition, you know, the 1 day, 2 day weekend competitions that come up, you know, almost every weekend. Like this is great for you.
Right.
And it still takes on the principle. It's still kind of geared towards getting, and we can talk about this a little bit more, getting a little bit more cardio based towards the open.
Right.
But I still, like I said, I still have those 2 full days.
Yeah.
Even through this strength phase or strength bias it's not really phase, it's strength bias that we've just been through for the last couple of months.
Yeah.
There's still 2 cardio days.
Right.
And I still feel just as fit.
Yeah.
I feel just as fit as I did last year.
Yeah.
And I think that the girls who follow it here are good examples. They're the same.
Yeah.
But they've just got way stronger in that time. So hopefully, the theory is that now, so for the next 2 months, we're increasing that cardio, and then again when we get to sort of November, increase it again.
Yeah.
And then we've got the 3rd type of day to talk about.
Right.
If you want to go through that now.
We'll go. I want to hop over to sort of some stuff that Andre's working on a little bit more, which is the 3rd tier, which is more a personalized version of it. So talk to us a little bit about how that works.
Well, the 3rd part is the one you just talked about, and that's the completely individualized programming.
Right.
So that for many people, and a program that is already set up would be great for them, but unfortunately a lot of people have some holes in their game.
Yeah.
And some of the holes are bigger than others, which means that a normal program can't go deep enough in those and like fix them.
Right.
So by doing the individualized program,
give us some examples. You speak about those holes, mate. Just so if someone's listening and they're thinking that individualized program may be for them, or should I be going on the other one, or what sort of things or what characteristics are you speaking about there?
I guess a good example is someone who can snatch 120 kilos. They can clean and jerk 160, but they can do two handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, so you would imagine if you're thinking, I'm going to regionals levels, my weightlifting numbers are great, and you look at everything, it all looks great, but all of a sudden you sort of see this handstand, what's your max handstand push-ups? 2.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, wow, we've got a major problem.
Problems.
Like if you divide the program into those 3 parts, you can kind of see where the weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And a normal program, those 3 parts were pretty much equally large.
Right.
If one athlete has a problem with gymnastics, we need to make this part larger and the other part smaller.
Right.
So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
And
so
a lot of people have problems with the gymnastics.
And we heard from your previous podcast your addiction to gymnastics and to obviously getting people better at that as well.
Yeah.
Or your massive interest in it. So
we just put together the latest 2 that you did. You just put together 2 like really good gymnastic those additional pieces. You did the one for Jesse and one for Holly.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to see how they go.
Yeah.
But they were like sort of 20 to 30 minute sessions.
Yeah.
3 extra sessions a week.
Right.
So still only taking, and you can take a little bit. You can almost replace some of the Red Zone class program gymnastics with that.
Yeah.
So still, even for the class program athlete who's on a personalized program, you're still keeping it to that sort of 90 minutes if it needs to.
So it's pretty much personalized in almost everywhere, although it's still based off, they'll still do some stuff that you see in the main program. Exactly. It's a lot more towards getting them to, and how do you see, like, should people, because I saw a lot of people when personalized programming kicked off or competitors programming kicked off, everyone's like, yeah, I've got a coach, I've got this, I've got that, and it's like, yeah, but you've got no game when it comes to the open. So how long should they be on it for? Is it like, I mean, you said there
3 months minimum.
3 months minimum.
Yeah.
That's what it needs.
You're not going to see results within 1-2 weeks. You gotta stick to it and see 3 months. Like you gotta look ahead like that. You can't just look short term all the time.
But depending on, I guess, how many holes there are in someone's
and how big they are.
And how big they are.
If it's a technical issue, if it's a strength issue, all those kind of things really take different times. The strength could take a long time, but if it's a technical thing, well, it could be fixed in 2 days maybe.
Right.
A week.
Right.
Depends on the athlete's adaptions.
So what you're doing is really understanding where people are at, and then what they need to, I mean, with the joint knowledge here of Phil, what they need to get to sort of to move. Yeah. And do you think that sort of approach is helpful not only for people that want to compete at regionals, but want lower level competition? Would you?
Indeed.
Yeah?
Indeed, very much. Just people coming to normal classes. I mean, a class program is, again, constantly varied and so on, so you don't know when the next time you'll hit your pull-ups again. If pull-ups is your weakness, you need to know specifically when you work on them to get better.
Yeah.
Also to see the progress more clearly.
Awesome. So three levels of the program. You've got sort of the competitors version, people that are aiming for regionals. The main people that you have on that as well at the moment, Phil, are definitely coaches, or people that have a lot more time to train, shall we say.
Yeah.
Then there's the class version, and again, people here locally and people around the world are able to do that and are doing it. And then, Andre, what you're focusing on more specifically is obviously the individual version. Let's jump back into those strength days and cardio days, and let's speak about maybe some days that have gone by so people can understand what we're really talking about. We've talked very sort of generally and a little bit technically weightlifting. We've spoken about gymnastics, conditioning, typical CrossFit workouts. Let's look at a couple of days. I mean, maybe just go through sort of the 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday or something.
We can go over. Like I said, the last 2 months, the way that I've split it is because, if we're looking at the main competition being the Open for the competitors, it's still quite a bit of time away, so we can use this time to more focus on getting strong. Yeah. But obviously we're still trying to be fit at the same time. So we've had three strength days a week and 2 cardio days. Right. So if we take a look at this, we'll just take a look at a day of each that's coming up this week. A strength day that we've got is you go through a nice technical warm-up. That should be lasting about sort of 20 minutes with the empty barbell specific to whatever movement you're using afterwards. Yeah. And then the main work in that first session is building to a heavy but technically good power clean. Right. So you'll build up heavy in that, and then you'll go to 50% of that weight and build up again, and then max out in squat cleans. Right. After that, you've got some snatch grip push press, some heavy back squats, and then some hang snatch pulls, and that's session 1. That should take around 90 minutes. Right. And should be done as session 1 on its own, warm up for it, and then get out. Yeah. And then have whatever rest you can. I would say ideal is about 2, maximum 3 hours rest, minimum 1 hour's rest. Right. I would advise sort of 2 hours rest, get some food, relax a little bit, and then session 2 is more gymnastic base. You've got some strict handstand push-ups at a deficit, some volume there. Yeah. Chin over bar holds, static holds, freestanding handstand holds, and hollow rocks. That one's about an hour. The second session's a little bit shorter. So the time commitment there, as you said, that's 2.5 hours on that day. Yeah. And that's a strength day. That's the strength day. Awesome. Give us another example so that people get a feel of what's going on. Cardio day. Actually, wait, sorry, mate. If you were to break that session down into, that's 2.5 hours, so that's for people, as you said, the competitors program. How would that then look for people that want to do it in 90 minutes and, like you've called it, the class version of the program? The class version is warm up, power clean, and then go back down and squat clean. Yeah. They still do push press, back squat, and then they go straight to 5 sets of 5 strict handstand push-ups. And then there's an EMOM to condense. Right. So what we would have 20 minutes of static holds. Theirs is condensed into 12 minutes. Right. Right. And a slightly scaled versions. Theirs is a handstand hold against the wall, right? Rather than freestanding, and then hollow holds, which will fit into the 90 minutes. So the movements, we're not really scaling too many movements back. We're just changing the setup of it to be a little bit more time efficient. And obviously cutting down the volume a little bit. Cutting down the volume by doing that and putting it into one session. It would be difficult to get the 2.5 hours done in one big session. Like, if you're anything like me, you'll probably feel hungry halfway through, and that's what'll slow you down. Right. I usually need to... Dre doesn't get hungry, though. Take a break and snabble, right? Do that, So then the day after that is the cardio day. Yeah. That starts session 1. You've got 6K of rowing intervals at 20 strokes per minute.
Right.
So 3K rest, 2K rest, 1K rest, trying to just increase the pace slightly each round.
Got it.
Take about a 2-hour break, or 1.5 hours, 2-hour break.
Yep.
Session 2, we've got 3 sort of mini CrossFit workouts, 100 push jerks for time.
Can't wait for this one.
Every bar drop, you have to do 6 bar facing burpees.
No problem. How many burpees will you do, Dre, on that? 70.
6.
Just 6, yeah.
Just 6. 100 push jerks at 135 pounds.
A little gymnastic complex, toes to bar and bar muscle ups.
Yeah.
And then just some almost assistance work, some front rack walking with some kettlebells, some farmers walking with some kettlebells. And then again, that should take about an hour, those 3 little pieces there. You rest for about 10 minutes each one, 10 minutes rest in between each one.
Right.
So there's an hour. And then take another break, an hour or an hour and a half, and then there's just a 30-minute hard, intense cardio piece, run, bike, and double unders.
Easy.
And the way that goes into the class program, you still do, I think you do all of it apart from the rowing at the start of the day.
Right.
So you're just missing out one. You're doing two of the sessions, but condensed into one, rather than all 3 sessions.
Awesome. I mean, what really stands out there is that all of, and I know it might sound obvious, but everything that's being used is all the movements that we're used to talking about within it, but just all split up in different ways to increase people's work capacity on them.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the difficult thing with programming, trying to think of all the possible ways.
Well, that was my next question.
I mean, no amount of people go so scientific with their programming that honestly, if I could, I would never write percentages.
Right.
Because the only reason I do is because people ask for them and they want. But I try to write on a few of the personal programs that I've got here. I've just wrote 80%, and then in brackets, this is just a guideline.
Right.
Because, I don't think I'm not smart enough, and I don't think there's anyone smart enough in CrossFit to tell you that you have to lift 82.5% this day to be better, and then you have to do this exact amount of wall balls the next day to be better, and this exact amount of biking or rowing. Yeah. I think CrossFit pretty much proves a lot of science isn't quite right. Old school science is that you can only get strong, or you can only get fit, or you can only make these physical adaptations at one time.
Yeah, right.
But, how does that explain how Rich Froning does, some of the stuff that he does?
It's very generalized, isn't it?
Hitting a PR snatch right after a 5K run or something. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that.
Yes.
But I don't think there'd be a piece of science that would say that yet. So you've still got to think, okay, I want to be structured. I want to use some structure just to keep that in there and make sure people are doing the right amount of lifting and the right amount of this, right amount of that.
Yeah.
But also, I think the variance is the most important. Just trying to find as many ways as possible to test people.
I think one thing, and I know you're quite keen on this as well, Andre, as well as us guys, is more being in touch with how your body feels.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Listen to your body, take stelo when you need to.
Yeah.
That's where you need to stay injury-free.
Yeah.
A lot of the things to reach the top level today it's all about staying injury-free. If you manage to be able to injury-free for a couple of years, you can progress as much as somebody who's injured for 4 years. Or
how do you relate that to breaking your handstand walking on a cone?
Yeah.
Do you think that was overtraining or just poor navigation?
Poor navigation.
Are you still blaming Moonim for not moving it?
Well, Moonim saw the cone, didn't he? He just took a picture of it.
Took a picture of the cone. Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah. You can't control everything, but try to control the things you can.
You can. And mate, some of the symptoms for that, for some people that maybe are not sort of competitors yet, but are thinking about upping their game a little bit and maybe jumping, what symptoms do you look out for as saying, like the red lights for, I need to rest my body a little bit?
In general, if you come to training, you don't feel well even after warming up, you can't hit the numbers you're supposed to hit. Yeah. Of course, there's bad days, there's good days, but if you start to see, for 1 week everything is just not going well. Yeah, that's probably a sign of you needing to have some time off.
Maybe a mental thing as well, like actually not wanting to go, train. Like you're a bit, you should want to go and train. If you feel good, like you're looking forward to the training session. Some days you're just not feeling it, and that is just a great sign. Okay, I'm going to maybe sit this afternoon out or something like that if you need it. And if it, probably
and sometimes you have to catch that before it happens. Before you get tired.
Which is hard, though, as well, right?
I would say a big mistake for beginners is they think that just more is more, and that they try and do as much as possible, and then end up sort of burnt out 6 months in and with multiple injuries. And so I know that you struggled with injuries, and you're only sort of 20, 21 years old. You had a few, starting to pick up a few niggles until you
22, mate. It's quite old.
When you were like a year ago or whatever, and then sort of toned it back a little bit, and a bit more smart. You started using your deload weeks and things like that. And
I haven't had any injuries for the last 2.5 years, but but there's been like small things, and I've caught them in a good time, and I've taken my deload when I needed to, and also the background for why I think deload is important is the fact that I know that the U.S. national gymnastics team and the Chinese weightlifters, they deload every 4th week.
Right.
There's different ways of deload. There can be a deload in intensity, there can be deload in volume. Sometimes a deload in volume means an increase in intensity.
For sure.
And that's different from program to program and so on. I don't think you need to go too scientifically on it, as Phil says.
Yeah.
You just need to listen to your body and don't get caught up in your surroundings. I think a thing that happens often is that you might be training with 5 other guys and they're not like you.
Yeah.
You're you, and you might not be able to train with that volume.
Yeah, right.
So you got to be able to stand up and say, I'm having deload this week, or
Absolutely.
I'm going to cut down a little bit and pick it up next week, and so on.
So you got to be in touch with it. I don't think we need to quite sing the praises of the program. I think the easiest thing is to check out the Instagram account, because most stuff is posted on there, which is a lot more impressive than us sitting here going blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and if anybody wants, we can offer that as well. If anybody wants a free trial of either of those programs, not the personalized, but if you want a free trial of the class or competitors program,
that's what I was going to sort of close out with as well, mate. Some people are sort of bit on the verge, but want to start competing and stuff. What's the best way to go about it? What should they be starting with? How do they get hold of you? What's the conversations? What's the criteria? Give us a quick bit of that before we wrap up.
You can email me at ph@innerfight.com, and we can sort of talk on there. And I got like a questionnaire that I send out to people as well to get some information back so that I can really understand, you know, what I mean. The first question is what do you want?
Right.
And just answer that question, like what do you actually want? And do you even, most people need to think, do I even know what I want? I want to start a competitors program.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
To be the best in your gym, or to go to regionals?
Yeah.
So I would, and then after that, I think the next question is, how long do you have to train each day?
Right.
So from those 2 questions, I can pretty much tell whether you're going to need to be on a class or competitors program.
Absolutely.
You can obviously choose; it's up to you. But I would give my advice on if you've got an hour to 90 minutes a day, you've got 2 kids, and you've got a full-time job, but you want to compete at local competitions, then I would probably advise that you do on the class program, even if you want to be on competitors. But
do you think it's maybe as well smart that, unless you really do have genuinely a lot of time for your body, as what we were saying with Andre there, just a little bit of adaptation, maybe just to try out the class program.
Yeah, it might be a bit of an easier introduction to it, unless you're already doing 2 sessions a day. You're probably used to that volume, and you can go on to the competitors. But if you're going from regular gym classes, then and you want to pick it up a bit, then I would go to the class version of Red Zone, and then if you've got the extra time and you feel great, you're making progress, then let's go to the competitors and see how it goes with the extra sessions in there.
Awesome.
And in your questionnaire sheet, there's also a question asking what is your background, how many days and hours do you usually train.
Right.
So that will determine whether you're ready to train 3.5 hour a day or not.
All of that information, everything that you need to know, you can email Phil, ph@innerfight.com, or Andre, ah@innerfight.com, or even head over to innerfight.com/redzone.
Instagram is IF_redzone as well.
So many ways to get in touch. Or if you can't remember any of that, just remember winning@innerfight.com, and the guys will get the email. That's really awesome, guys. Lots of information. Obviously, you guys spend a lot of time on the program, both very geeky about it. even though you try to be real cool and stuff like that. It doesn't work.
It's cool to be a geek.
You've just proved in the last 45 minutes you're complete nerds and do nothing but CrossFit, but that's why you're producing a program that's really good. So hopefully we get a few updates later. We've got Battle of the East coming up, which is a big competition for pretty much the region, and then it really goes into the Open at the end of Feb. So there's a lot of testing time for all the people you have on the program.
Things will change, and we'll start getting into some more open style stuff as we progress through the year. So it'd be cool to get back on and talk again about the progression then, and see how people are doing with the program and all these competitions we've got coming up now.
See how they're going. But if you are thinking about it, as Phil said, you can get a free trial. He's sending out a month's free trial because he's so charitable like that. And
just a genuine really nice
all-round nice guy. I don't know who called him grumpy, but and I think that's one thing as well. Before you commit to buying a program, it's very cool that you can try it for a month.
Try it,
see how it goes.
If you like it.
If you don't, just get out,
relax. Get out.
Andre, Phil, really cool, good stuff there, guys. Get in touch with us if you want the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there you have it, folks. That's all the knowledge. That's all you need if you're thinking about competing in CrossFit, doing a CrossFit competition or fitness competition of sorts that sort of ticks some of those boxes, and you can relate to what those guys are saying. Or if you just want to take your regular classes up a level and get into the Red Zone class program there, 90 minutes a day, that's what it's there for. Get hold of those guys, give them a shout. Loads of knowledge, loads of information there from Andre and Phil. I want to thank you all for tuning into the podcast. We really do appreciate that. Of course, if you do have some time, please hop over to iTunes, rate the podcast. That would be absolutely amazing. And as always, a massive shout out to our show sponsors, Kareem. Go over, download the Kareem app, sign up and register with a valid credit card. Use the promo code InnerFight and you will get 100 dirhams off your first ride. And remember, if you're coming to the gym, use the promo code INNER. If you're leaving the gym, use the promo code FIGHT for 10% off your rides with them. If you've got a question for us on the podcast, you want a topic covering, if you want us to speak for 40 minutes about a specific topic, there's something you like, there's something you don't like, please just drop us an email, winning@innerfight.com. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe we even get you on the show one day. Until next time, take care.